6 ways to start a conversation, or perhaps 6 really good ways to start a conversation. I'm Chad. Fluff belongs on a sandwich, not in a video. Let's get into it. I've got a live group of 70 beautiful human beings with me who just filled out these prompts. And in a moment, I'm going to ask them what struck them or what they notice as they actually filled out each of these prompts in writing. You'll just hear a little bit about what goes on in the brain when somebody's conversation is prompted like this. Number 1, I've been thinking a lot about. The question version of this might be, what's taken up lots of your brain space lately? This question is like 14 times better than asking someone, how are you, or how was their weekend? Because if something is taking up lots of their brain space, or they've filled in this sentence, I have been thinking a lot about blank, right? What you are immediately doing is teleporting in to something that's important to them presently, right? So they might be passionate about golf, but right now they're thinking a lot about blank. And being able to tap into that is a fairly low risk way to connect with somebody, because pairing up and digging way deep into the past or way deep into the future is a little bit riskier than just being present with where somebody is right now. So it's also a beautiful way to check in with somebody, what's taking up lots of your brain space right now, even if you see this person somewhat regularly. Number 2, I love talking about blank. The question version of this is, what is one of your favorite topics of conversation? And this is one of my 6 favorite prompts because it is like an absolute cheat code to doing no work in a conversation to have a good conversation. Because introverted, extroverted, doesn't matter. If you've told somebody, I really love talking about this, you could ask the most lousy follow-up question and they will have 2 hours of content to just go off on, right? You've tapped into what somebody really loves to talk about, right? Number 3, this one does jump into the future a little bit, or allows people to at least talk their way into the future. And this is, I wish I had more time for blank. It's a bit self-reflective. But it turns out there's a whole bunch of science behind the idea that if you ask people about their intentions to do something in the future, it actually impacts and usually increases the chances that they actually go and do that thing. So one of the most ridiculous studies that I came across was surveyed 40,000 people about their intentions to buy a car, consumer behavior, intentions to buy a car in the next 6 months. And out of 40,000 people, the group that was asked that question were 35% more likely to buy a car in the next 6 months than the group that was not asked about their intentions to buy a car, which is like actually kind of terrifying because it like could be used for manipulation. But I think a question like this is such a gift or a conversation prompt. So the question version, obviously, what is one thing you wish you had more time for? All right. I got a couple more, and then you might not know this at this point in the video, but I've got a live group of 70 beautiful human beings with me who just filled out these prompts. And in a moment, I'm going to ask them what struck them or what they notice as they actually filled out each of these prompts in writing. You'll just hear a little bit about what goes on in the brain when somebody's conversation is prompted like this. All right. This is the sentence stem of my current favorite question, which is, what are you curious about right now? I'm curious about, and here's why I love this so much. Many years ago, I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I don't live there now, but I lived there for 5 years. And in that 5 years, I actually kept a tally of all the people that I met, one-on-one for coffee or one-on-one chat for some significant length of time at an event. And I kept a tally of all these people. And for many of them, I had their business cards. And about 200 people into meeting these 400 people, I realized that we would be half hour in a conversation and they would have not said any sentence that ends with a question mark. And what I started to do about halfway through is say about 20 minutes into the conversation, I'd say, ooh, I just realized I've been asking all these questions. I love hearing about this. What questions do you have for me? And it literally was like I broke their brain. And I saw their brain turn in from like they plugged in a cassette and were playing out these ideas, and it shifted to a different part of their brain. And I'm not a neuroscientist, so I don't know what part, but it shifted into a different part of their brain that actually made them think and get really curious. And it's like this light bulb flipped on. It's like they actually woke up for the first time in the conversation. and they asked a question, and all of a sudden the conversation started to balance out. And so that in particular was saying, what are you curious about? What do you want to ask me? This one, just in general, right? I'm curious about blank. Knowing what somebody wants to know more about allows you to become antenna for people. And so you can actually listen for what they are curious about, what they want to know more about, and you can send them follow-up links, and you can send them a book you read that you really liked. And it creates all these really beautiful follow-up opportunities to connect and meet with somebody. 2 more, hyperspeed. I'm trying to solve the challenge of blank, right? What problems are you trying to solve? What problems do you care about? What problems do you care about solving? If people don't have an answer to this question, I still really like the prompt because it's really nice to have an answer to this question. When you're trying to solve some sort of a challenge or you're trying to create some new possibility, it establishes and makes apparent purpose for somebody. And so if you can highlight somebody's purpose for them, what a gift, right? Or highlight a purpose for them, what a gift. So I am trying to solve the challenge of blank. And last but certainly not least, I would love to learn more about blank, or what is something you'd love to learn more about? Similar to the curiosity one, but not quite the same. People will respond to these 2 prompts differently. Maybe, I don't know. 70 people who are with me right now. I'm curious, as you were filling out all these prompts, which of course come in a pack of We Connect name tags. This is sponsored by me. Sponsored by this box. If you want to get them, they're online somewhere. There's a link probably somewhere around. But my question to the group, and it's all right if you talk over each other, it'll sort itself out quick enough. What struck you, or what did you notice as you were actually going through and filling out these prompts? Maybe a quick hand raise and I'll call on people actually. Yeah, Larry first, then Shane, then Jen.
I went with the very first things that popped into my mind. And there would be times though that I'm like, oh, do I really want to say that? No, say it. It's the first thing that came to mind. And it helps get me to explore it.
It's a facilitation nugget to, right? If you make this the official start of like, hey, everybody, now go grab your name tags, now go fill them out. The invite is to experiment with a little bit of vulnerability and share your real response rather than your like third safe response. Perhaps, right? Maybe a level 2 would be more appropriate depending on the event. Cool. Shane.
I found that I actually wanted to put a little more thought into this because I was thinking I want to engage with people. Like this gave me something gave me some meat to talk about. If I came into a room and I was like, oh shoot, I got to network with all these people. What am I going to say? What am I going to ask? This gave me something to focus my energies on and say, okay, this is what I want to talk about. When it happens, it made it so that it took down the barriers and the obstacles in engaging with other people and connecting with them.
Hi. Yeah, what I noticed when filling out the prompt is that I felt like I had a choice whether I would answer it in a really, really personal way or a more light way. And that's what I really liked.
Love it. Cool. Yeah, a way to make something psychologically unsafe is to make people have no choice. And so I chose all 6 of these prompts because they have a huge spectrum of how you could answer, right? You could answer for work, you could answer for personal, you could answer for your specific organization. Like there's all sorts of context that you can layer on, and it changes all 6 prompts. So they're very, very universally appropriate prompts. All right, Sharon, and then we're gonna end the party while it's still fun.
I like that the prompts only had enough room for me to write a certain thought. Like I had to funnel my thinking down into what specifically I meant. And for me, that's really, sometimes it's hard. I just keep talking until I get to the point. And for this, I had to land on what the point was.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll have this ready by the time the video publishes, but we're planning on having a free printable edition of all of the name tags on our free resources page, and we'll have them in different sizes and whatnot. So these are kind of fit into the standard 4-inch by 3-inch that most name tags, they'd fit on the back of a lanyard or slot into like a little plastic reusable name tag. But there's a reason sticky notes are the size that they are. When people made sticky notes, it's like 1 idea per sticky note. And it's like a name tag is not useful if somebody writes a small novel here. And so you're inviting people to fill it out. Like there's enough room for 1 or 2 words, which is all you need to be a window to teleport into a really good conversation. I'll give you an example of this. when I was piloting and testing the name tags, unplanned, I was about to give a keynote to the event. There was no unofficial start planned. I had a few packs of name tags with me. And so I went up to the organizer right before and I said, hey, if you want, before I give my keynote, I'm happy to throw out these name tags and let people do them. And a guy filled out, and all I could read was the word Jeep on his name tag. And so I just, as I was walking up, about to go on stage for keynote in a couple minutes, I just said, tell me about Jeeps. And he goes, what? He's like, oh, he remembered that he put this on, and he just went off. This guy loved mud and Jeeps and things. And he just like went out, just like created this little momentary connection very, very, very quickly. And all you actually needed was one word. And I actually love, philosophically, I love thinking about the fact that the barrier that separates and isolates us from other people is actually sometimes only like one word missing, like one single word. And you can enter into a really good chat. And yet somehow as humans, we've ended up in this weird, like, how are you? What do you do? Where are you from? Rut, where we ask the same questions, or if they're colleagues, how was your weekend? Every single Monday, we ask this question. It's like, I don't know, there's like a couple 100,000 words in the English language. Let's pick a different one and see if it changes our conversations. Okay. Links probably around here if you want the stuff. Have an awesome day.